Good day, students. Welcome to mathgotserved.com. In this clip, we're going to be going over how to solve two-step inequalities. This is one of our parts in the multi-part series under inequalities of our virtual algebra text. Before we get started, let's do a real quick review on our inequality symbols. Basically, they're the symbols, how you read them, and how they are graphed. Okay, so real quick review on our inequality symbols. Alright, so the first one is the less than inequality symbol. Okay, it's written as less than. If you notice, the orientation of the less than looks very much like an L, so just in case you forget what direction the less than inequality symbol points to, is just like the L. Okay, so for example, if you have x as less than a, if you want to graph this on a number line, let's say this is a on a number line, x is less than a is going to be an open circle that's pointing to the left. Okay? Alright, number 2, let's say you have the greater than inequality symbol. It is written as greater than. And let's take a look at a graph. Let's say you have x is greater than a. How does that look on the number line? So let's just graph a on the number line. And we have an open circle, greater points to the right. Okay? So don't forget, less than points to the left and greater than points to the right. Now, the reason why these two circles are open basically means that the a values are excluded from the solution set. Alright? Exclusion basically means open circle, inclusion means closed circle. If we had a line underneath these two inequalities, then our circles will be closed, which indicates inclusion. Let me illustrate to you. Consider this inequality less than or equal to. This is a combination of less than and equal to. Is written as less than or equal to. Okay? Example usage, let's say we have x is less than or equal to a. Graph that on a number line. So let's say this is a. Less than or equal to, because of that line of inclusion, the circle becomes closed, and less than is everything to the left on the number line. Alrighty, let's take a look at the last one. Greater than or equal to, as the inequality symbol, greater than or equal to. Let's take a look at how to graph that on a number line. So let's say you have an x is greater than or equal to a situation. So you have a number line. Let's say this is a. So since we have a line underneath the inequality, is going to be a closed circle, and greater than points to the right. Okay, so these are the 4 inequalities, and these are the ways of graphing them. Alright, let's take a look at some examples. The instructions for us are to solve and graph the following inequalities. Graph the following inequalities. We're looking at two-step inequalities in this example. Okay? Alright, so number 1, let's say we have the inequality 2 plus k. Try that again. 2 plus k over 3 is less than or equal to 5. Alright, so let's go ahead and solve this and graph it. So we have 2 plus k over 3 is less than or equal to 5. We want to get k isolated. So what we're going to do is get rid of a 2 first by subtraction. So we subtract 2 from both sides of the equation. When we do that, we end up with k over 3. These two 2's add up to 0. is less than or equal to 5 minus 2 is 3. Now to finish it up, we want to get k by itself, so we'll simply multiply both sides by 3, because the inverse of division divided by 3 is multiplied by 3. So multiply both sides by 3. This divides out, and we have our final answer. K is less than or equal to 9. Alright, let's go ahead and graph that on a number line. So if we want to graph this on a number line, we just have to locate 9. So let's just say this is 9. Alright, now is this going to be a closed or open circle? Since you have the inclusion bar here, it's going to be a closed circle, and then less than points in the left direction. So less than goes in that direction. So this is the solution, and there goes the graph. Alright, let's take a look at another example. Question number 2. Let's say we have the following inequality. Let's say we have r minus 3 over 2 is less than or equal to 5. Alright, so let's go ahead and solve this. So we have r minus 3 over 2 is less than or equal to 5. So to get r isolated, we're going to multiply by 2 first, and then add 3 to both sides. Okay, let's do it. So you multiply by 2 on the left and the right. The result is that this denominator is divided out, and then you have r minus 3 is less than or equal to 10. And then the final step, you simply add 3 to both sides of the equation. And that will yield our final result. Our final result is going to be r. Let's change the color here. R is less than or equal to 13. Alright, so that's the solution. Let's go ahead and graph that. So what's the graph going to look like? Well, we can just locate 13 on the number line. Since you have the equal to bar there, so it's going to be a closed circle again, and then less than 13. Our arrow number line is going to be going to the left direction. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at another example. Number 3, let's say we have the two-step inequality, negative 6x plus 3 is greater than 3. So how do we go about solving that? Negative 6x plus 3 is greater than 3 can be solved in 2 steps. We subtract 3 from both sides and then divide by negative 6. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Start off, we subtract 3 from both sides of the equation, of the inequality, not equation, and then the resulting inequality is going to be negative 6x is greater than, this adds up to 0, this also happens to add up to 0 also. And then we're going to divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which is negative 6. So remember, negative 6x means negative 6 times x. So if we want to undo multiplication, we use its inverse operation, which is division. So divide both sides by negative 6. Alright, what's the answer going to be? You're going to have x. Now remember, when you're solving inequalities, if you divide by negative, you're flipping the inequality sign. So greater than becomes less than, and then 0 over negative 6 is simply 0. So there goes your solution. Let's graph it on a number line. So let's say this is 0. x is less than 0, since there's no inclusion bar underneath the inequality, it's going to be an open circle. Less than means it's pointing to the left. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at one more example. Question number 4. Let's say we have the inequality 36 is greater than or equal to negative 9n minus 7. Alright, so let's go ahead and solve this inequality and graph. So starting from 36 is greater than or equal to negative 9n minus 7. Now we want to start by dividing both sides by, because negative 9 is being multiplied by this quantity that contains the variable we are solving for. So we're going to divide by this number, negative 9. Alright, let's take a look at question number 4. So let's say we have the inequality 36 is greater than or equal to negative 9 times n minus 7. Let's do that. Alright, so this is another two-step inequality. So to do this, we're going to get rid of the negative 9 first and then the 7 afterwards. Since negative 9 is being multiplied by this quantity that contains a variable in it, to undo that multiplication relationship, we use the inverse operation, which is division. So divide both sides by negative 9. And then that leaves us with, now when you divide two numbers with different signs, the answer is always going to be negative. And then this negative 9 is divide out, n minus 7. Okay? Now hold on for a second. Since we divided by a negative, what happens is that the inequality symbol will have to switch around. From greater than or equal to becomes less than or equal to. So don't forget, as we did in number 3, anytime you divide or multiply an inequality by a negative number, it reverses the orientation of that inequality. Okay? Now to get n isolated, we're going to add 7 to both sides of the equation. When we add 7 to both sides of the equation, that gives us negative 4 plus 7 is 3. Let's change the color to that. It's 3. 3 is less than or equal to n. Since 3 is less than or equal to n, it follows that n is greater than or equal to 3. Just switch the inequality around. You always want to have the variable on the left side so you can get the orientation of your inequality correct all the time. Okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and graph it. That's our solution right there. N is greater than 3, so let's say this is 3. Since there's a line underneath, it's a closed circle. And our region is everything to the right. All the numbers 3 or greater will satisfy the inequality. Alright, so these are our answers and they are related graphs. And this is basically how you solve two-step inequalities. Alright, how well did you master the content of this presentation? To demonstrate mastery, we'd like you to try out the following problems. So what you do is, once you write it down, so you're going to solve and graph each inequality. Once you're done writing it down, pause the video and then solve the problem, and then click on the playback button to see what the answers are, and then you can check to see if you got it right or wrong. Okay, so number 1, let's say you have a over 14 plus 1 is less than 2. Number 2, what if you have negative 1 is greater than n minus 2 over 4. Number 3, what if you had negative 8 times negative 10 plus n as less than or equal to 192? And then lastly, number 4, let's say you have 30 is greater than or equal to negative 9 plus 3a. Alright, go ahead and pause the video at this time and try out these problems, solve and graph, and then click on the play button to see what the answers are. Alright, so hopefully you had a chance to try out the problems. The solutions are as follows. For number 1, we have a as less than 14. Number 2, n is less than negative 2. Number 3, n is greater than or equal to negative 14. And number 4, a is less than or equal to 13. Okay, so there you have it. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. I really appreciate it. If you found the contents of this tutorial helpful in your studies of algebra and inequalities, do give us a thumbs up. Your positive feedback is very valuable to us. If you have any questions or comments, just post it in the comment section below and we'll be more than glad to respond. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel for updates to other tutorials such as this. More support resources can be found at mathgotserved.com. Thanks again for watching and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.